This is Booked for Drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part 2. Today we're diving into They Made Me a Scapegoat, I Fought to Clear. Let's go. Chapter 1. Halfway through the college entrance exam, I suddenly pulled a cheat sheet out of my pocket and held it high. The invigilator immediately confiscated my paper and announced that my results were invalid. But when they looked at my cheat sheet, they were shocked to find it was full of standard answers for the next exam. The inspection team immediately sent someone to take me away for investigation. I was escorted out of the exam hall by the police. If the cheating was confirmed, I would have to serve 3 years in prison. No one understood why someone like me, a top student on track to be the top scorer, would cheat, let alone report myself. But what puzzled them even more was, how could I predict future questions and have answers for subjects we hadn't even taken yet? Only I knew, everything I did was to save myself. In the exam hall, everyone was writing furiously. It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I glanced at my blank answer sheet, sighed, then pulled out a thick cheat sheet from my pocket and held it high, loudly declaring so everyone could hear, "Sir, I have a cheat sheet in my pocket." Instantly, all eyes were on me. Several classmates were so shocked, they dropped their pens. The invigilator on the podium quickly walked toward me, snatched the cheat sheet from my hand and said sternly, "Jessica, you have seriously violated exam discipline. You must stop answering immediately. I now declare your result for this subject invalid." His words rang loud and clear, but I remained unusually calm. As soon as he finished speaking, all the students around inhaled sharply, "Is she crazy? Cheating and then admitting it herself?" Another girl also said, "Wait, isn't that Jessica Stockholm from #1 high school? The top student who always gets first place in mock exams." A male student shouted, "A top student cheating in the college entrance exam, she's throwing her future away." "Silence," the invigilator roared. "Anyone speaking will be treated as cheating." The room went quiet again. The others hurried back to their papers, but my classmates stared at me wide-eyed in fear. Just then, another invigilator noticed something odd. He waved frantically, "Come here. There's something wrong with this cheat sheet." The two invigilators huddled together. I could vaguely hear them whispering, "Look at this cheat sheet, it doesn't just have math answers, but also answers for science." "But this is the English exam. Math and science aren't until tomorrow." One of them puzzled, "What's going on? Did Jessica bring the wrong cheat sheet?" The other person answered, "No, it's not formulas, it's actual answers." "Oh my God, report this to the inspection team immediately." Soon, the inspection team arrived at our exam hall, with 2 police officers among them. The team leader took me outside the classroom and said sternly, "Jessica, if your cheating is confirmed, not only will your results be voided, but according to the law, cheating in the college entrance exam is a criminal offense. You'll be facing 3 years in prison." He asked again, "We'll be taking you in for investigation now. Do you have any objections?" I turned back to look at my classmates still working on their papers. But at that moment, no one was focused on the questions. They were all staring at me anxiously. Seeing the fear in their eyes, I exhaled, "You can take me away. But I have one request, take a good look at my cheat sheet." Since nothing like this had ever happened in an exam before, I was escorted out by police and temporarily held in a separate classroom to await the outcome. Chapter 2. Not long after I was taken to the separate room, the bell rang. It marked the end of the English exam. None of my classmates left after finishing. They all rushed over to see me, led by my childhood friend Emmett Barker. He was drenched in sweat and shouted at the inspectors, "Teachers, you must be mistaken. Jessica would never cheat. She's a top student at #1 high school, a guaranteed candidate for Glasgow. She has no reason to cheat." The inspector watching over me sighed. "That boy really cares about you. He just finished his exam and already came to plead for you." Hearing that, I let out a cold laugh. "Really? Emmett and I grew up together, though our families were worlds apart. But he never looked down on my background and was always a good friend to me. I used to dream of getting into a top university, thinking only then I'd be worthy of him. But after today's scandal, there was no way that would ever happen." The inspectors were also baffled. "They all say you were going to be the top scorer. Why ruin your future like this?" I lifted my eyes, looked at the teacher and said word by word, "Because if I didn't do this, I would die." The inspector was startled by my words, but I remained calm, even wearing a faint smile on my face. As if that wild statement had come from someone else entirely. Soon, my homeroom teacher arrived. She banged on the windowsill from outside and glared at me furiously like I'd let her down. He angrily said, "Jessica, are you out of your mind? The college entrance exam decides your whole future. Why would you mess up now by cheating? Your parents are hardworking farmers, planting vegetables day and night just to scrape together your tuition. How could you be so irresponsible to them?" When she mentioned my parents, I bit my lip and lowered my head. Everyone assumed I was ashamed and guilty, which made the accusation of cheating seem even more solid. But I knew better than anyone, only by reporting myself for cheating could I have a real chance at getting into Glasgow. Soon, the principal arrived after hearing the news, and with him came Ms. Travis from the Glasgow admissions office. When Ms. Travis saw me handcuffed and sat in a chair, she was stunned. She asked in disbelief, "Jessica, weren't you already guaranteed a spot at Glasgow through the competition program? Why are you even in the exam hall, let alone cheating?" With that one sentence, everyone was stunned. Emmett looked at me blankly and asked, You were already admitted?" The principal and my homeroom teacher were shocked and asked Ms. Travis for confirmation. Ms. Travis nodded repeatedly. "I'm not mistaken, I'm certain. Jessica has already been accepted into Glasgow's physics department. The offer letter is on the way." Now people were even more confused. I'd already been admitted to the best university in the country, so why would I cheat in the entrance exam? My homeroom teacher slapped her thigh and said firmly, I get it. Someone set her up. Jessica, tell me the truth, did someone plant that cheat sheet in your pocket? The principal quickly agreed, yes, Jessica. As long as you say you didn't cheat, we'll get to the bottom of this. Everyone stared at me, eyes filled with hope. I knew that if I denied it, the teachers and classmates would protect me. But instead, I said with a blank face, I cheated. The cheat sheet is mine. Chapter 3. After hearing my words, the homeroom teacher collapsed to the floor, slapped her thighs in the ground in anger. What a sin. Jessica, you're truly a walking disaster. The principal's expression shifted repeatedly. He pointed at me and shouted, since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame the school for being heartless. Your father was seriously ill and you applied to advance the £50,000 scholarship for Glasgow students. The school originally planned to grant it after the exam. Now I'm telling you, it's gone. Upon hearing this, my calm demeanor shattered. I immediately stood up from the chair. Principal, how can you go back on your word? That money is my dad's only hope for survival. The principal's face turned green with anger. You have the nerve to blame me? You're the one who ruined your own future. That scholarship is for Glasgow students. Are you one? In a panic, I shouted, I can be. You? Don't kid yourself. The principal yelled, pointing outside. The police car's already on its way. You're about to be taken away for investigation. Rage surged inside me, but I had no way to explain. Principal, please believe me, I still have a chance. The principal waved his hand, brows furrowed, clearly unwilling to say another word. Just then, my mom arrived. She should have been at the hospital taking care of my dad. The moment she saw me in handcuffs, her eyes turned red. What's going on? I was stunned. Mom, why are you here? My mom, emotional and flustered, said, your teacher called me. She said you were caught cheating on the college entrance exam. I didn't believe it. I said my daughter could never cheat. She told me to come and see for myself. Jessica, did you really cheat? I choked up, unsure how to respond. A few reporters burst in with photographers. They pushed my mom aside. They'd been shooting outside the school but rushed in the moment they heard that a top student was caught cheating. Cameras flashed right in my face. One of the journalists asked, you're Jessica Stockholm, right? You're the first student in this city caught cheating on the college entrance exam. Do you realize this will stain your name forever? Another journalist chimed in, sources say your mock exam scores were always above 700, why would you cheat? Can you explain? The flashbulbs were so bright I couldn't keep my eyes open. Emmett and my classmates pushed the reporters out. Enough, stop filming. Jessica, are you out of your mind? Why are you determined to ruin yourself like this? While they spoke, the police car had already entered the school grounds. I was about to be taken away. Emmett's neck turned red with urgency. He held onto my mom and shouted at me, Jessica, say you didn't cheat. If you really did, your dad won't have money for surgery the day after tomorrow. What? My mom's mouth dropped in shock. After she learned that the principal canceled the payment because of the cheating incident, she panicked like an ant on a hot pan. Jessica, we already promised the doctor we'd pay for the surgery tomorrow. I'm begging you, please stop saying you cheated. Do it for your father, I'm begging you. She dropped to her knees right then and there. It's always children who kneel to their parents. When have parents ever knelt to their children? Mom, get up. I clenched my teeth, eyes bloodshot. But my mom shook her head and cried out, I can't get up. If I do, your dad's really done for. Jessica, you've always been obedient and filial. Can't you take it back just once, for your dad? Emmett shouted again, Jessica, deny it already. If you get taken away today, those reporters will spread the footage everywhere. Your whole life will be ruined. Your family won't be able to show their face in this town again. Chapter 4. Other classmates also pleaded with me, yeah, Jessica, come back from the edge. The voices around me grew louder and louder. My head felt like it was about to explode. My kneeling mother, my tearful homeroom teacher, the admissions officer waiting for me. My lips moved. I did cheat. Those words came out through gritted teeth. As soon as I said it, my mom's eyes rolled back and she fainted on the spot. Emmett angrily questioned me, Jessica, you're not just destroying yourself, you're going to kill your parents too. I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms. The pain kept me awake. Miss Travis, the admissions officer from Glasgow, shook her head and sighed, forget it, what's done is done. Jessica, I'm sorry, your recommendation is now revoked. From top student to criminal, it all changed in a single moment. A shiver ran through me. I bit my lips so hard they started bleeding, but even so, I forced down the urge to reveal the truth and nodded. Thank you, Miss Travis. I understand. Everyone lost hope. They had all wanted to protect me. As long as I said I didn't cheat, they were ready to fight the inspection team. But I wouldn't say it. I admitted to cheating without hesitation. A siren wailed across the school grounds. 2 officers pushed down on my shoulders and began escorting me out. Just then, the inspection team leader burst in from outside. His face was cold and stern as he shouted, Wat? Something's wrong. My heart sank. Had he figured out my plan? The homeroom teacher, thought there was still hope, quickly asked, Mr. Bass, did you find out Jessica didn't cheat? Mr. Bass clenched his teeth. She didn't cheat, she's trying to throw her life away. The whole crowd gasped in shock. Jessica, we've just confirmed with the examination office that the answers on your cheat sheet match exactly with the official answers for tomorrow's exams. We now strongly suspect that you have stolen the test questions, an act of stealing state secrets, he said again. The National College Entrance Exam is a top secret matter. If that accusation was held, I wouldn't just be facing 3 years in prison anymore. Hearing that, Emmett's legs buckled and he collapsed to the ground. Tears streamed down his face. Jessica, how could you be so foolish? Even stealing the exam? Did you? I turned my head away, not even looking at him. I forget our promise? Just then, Mr. Bass's phone rang. He answered it and suddenly shouted in disbelief, what? The exam office says there was no leak? Everyone's eyes returned to me. They desperately wanted an answer. Jessica, how did you get tomorrow's answers? I took a deep breath and said slowly, fine, I'll tell you. It's actually simple. All you have to do is cast a fortune. Chapter 5. And you can divine all the answers for this year's college entrance exam. Mr. Bass let out a stunned laugh. What, you're a fortune teller now? After I nodded, Mr. Bass pointed at me furiously, unbelievable. You're still joking at a time like this? You're still stuck in a student mindset, completely unaware of how serious your crime is. He was outraged. Stealing college entrance exam papers constitutes the crime of illegally obtaining state secrets. In severe cases, that's 3 to 7 years in prison. Jessica, how many 7-year periods do you think a person gets in life? Think carefully before you speak again. Everyone seemed to hold their breath, eyes wide, all stared at me. But I only pressed my lips into a smile. I know all that. I already looked up how many years one gets for stealing the national college exam. But the truth is, I really got the answers from fortune telling. Not only did I predict the right answers, I also predicted that I'll be starting at Glasgow this September. Mr. Bass was utterly speechless. He shook his head and sighed. Looks like you're determined not to tell the truth. Fine then, we're taking you in for questioning. Let's go, Jessica, into the car. I nodded. Good, that's exactly what I want. Mr. Bass pushed through the crowd and I followed him toward the police car. Once inside, I noticed every window had been reinforced with metal mesh. I never imagined I'd one day sit in a police car like this, just like some hardened criminal. Not far away, reporters snapped endless photos of me behind bars, capturing the supposed look of despair on my face. If things kept going like this, my life would really be over. The policewoman beside me looked at me with pity and shook her head. Girl, why would you do this to yourself? You had such a bright future, but you chose the shortcut. She was right, I did have a bright future. Though my family was poor, I studied harder than anyone. To earn more scholarships to help my parents, I spent countless days and nights grinding away at difficult competition-level problems. The stacks of practice papers could have filled our entire tiny house. With that kind of effort, I finally earned a recommendation to Glasgow. I didn't even have to take the entrance exam this year. It's all right, I believe the law will give me justice. After I said that, the policewoman looked at me with even more pity. Maybe she, like everyone else, thought I'd lost my mind. The sirens wailed and the car started moving. I was about to be taken away from the school. But the car had barely begun to move when the driver suddenly slammed on the brakes. A loud yell came from the front. Are you insane? Blocking a police car? Do you have a death wish? I leaned forward to see what was happening and to my shock, Emmett was standing in front of the police car with his arms spread wide. Others in the car clicked their tongues and murmured, is that guy in love with you or what? Risking everything to block a cop car for you? You two look like some star-crossed lovers. But I didn't feel moved at all. On the contrary, I clenched my jaw, burning with anger. I shouted to the driver, keep going. I don't believe he'll actually let himself get run over. The principal and homeroom teacher tried to drag Emmett away, but he stood rooted to the spot like his feet were planted in concrete. Then, to everyone's shock, he dropped to his knees in front of the car and begged, please don't take Jessica away. She would never cheat. The bystanders who had come just to watch the drama were all deeply moved by the scene. They said, Jessica's ruined herself, and dragged others down too. But Emmett's heart is really kind. Even now, he's still pleading for her, an old lady chimed in. Another man said, Emmett comes from a good family and he's so kind, what's he thinking, hanging around with someone like Jessica? I feel bad for him. Hearing their whispers, my fury nearly boiled over. But for the sake of the final victory, I had to suppress every emotion and sat quietly in the car. Soon, the teachers managed to pull Emmett away. Even as the car drove off, Emmett chased after it, until he tripped and finally fell behind. Chapter 6. His dramatic gesture moved many people, but it didn't touch me in the slightest. Mr. Bass said, your case is extremely unusual and very serious. We'll be taking you to the provincial office to handle it. Upon hearing that, I sincerely said, that's great. Mr. Bass looked at me in utter confusion. You haven't really studied yourself, stupid, have you? I shook my head, no. Once the car had fully left the town, I took a deep breath and said to Mr. Bass, get the recording and video equipment ready. I'm ready to confess the truth. His eyes widened, then narrowed, voice tinged with suppressed excitement. Jessica, you're finally ready to come clean. Start from the beginning. How exactly did you get the college entrance exam answers? I stole them. Just 3 words, but they shocked everyone in the car. Mr. Bass exploded with fury. You're still not telling the truth? The examination office already confirmed the papers weren't leaked. I said again, I am telling the truth. Believe it or not, that's up to you. You should be able to guess which part of the process went wrong, right? Mr. Bass fell silent for a long moment. Then suddenly, realization flashed in his eyes. I get what you mean now. I'll make a call right away. Thankfully, he was smart. I let out a long breath I'd been holding and waited for him to finish. When Mr. Bass returned, he briefed me, I've sent the city's investigation team to your town's exam office. If anything comes up, we'll know right away. The car continued toward the provincial capital. Until a sudden, violent jolt hit the rear. The driver turned and said, "Looks like we got rear-ended." A rear-end collision at a moment like this? Way too suspicious. Mr. Bass got out to check personally and found the crash was pretty serious. He said, "The fuel's leaking. We can't keep driving, we'll need a replacement vehicle." Everyone got out and waited by the roadside. The driver was arguing with the other car's owner. That man wore a hat, so his face was hidden, but for a brief second, I saw the lower half of his face and felt a chill run through my body. It was him. Panic surged in me. I quickly told the policewoman I needed to use the restroom. In this desolate stretch of road, they told me to go into the bushes. They couldn't exactly follow too closely. Just as I crouched down, I heard rustling footsteps. Looking up, I saw Emmett. He grabbed my hand without a word and tried to drag me away. But I dug in my heels, clutching at the weeds around me. I refused to move. He grew anxious. "My cousin and I followed your car the whole way. We finally got a chance to crash it and take you. Did you forget your dad's still in the hospital waiting for surgery? If you need the money, then come on." I refused. "I'm not going. You want me to become a fugitive?" Emmett's face darkened. "Jessica, don't think I don't know what you're scheming. You think just because you left town no one can touch you anymore? I'm telling you, the Barker family has eyes and ears everywhere. This is your last chance. Don't throw it away." At last, the mask came off. He was no caring friend, he was a devil pushing me off a cliff. But this time, I wouldn't let him win. I shouted at the top of my lungs, "Help! Someone!" The officers assigned to watch me came running immediately. Emmett shook off my hand and hissed, "Furious, you're digging your own grave, don't blame me for what happens next." Chapter 7. After saying that, he ran off quickly and I was brought back into the car. Mr. Bass asked, "What just happened back there?" I shook my head and refused to say anything. I only asked him, "Are you really taking me to the provincial office?" He said, "Yes, once we're there, we'll talk." Not long after we got back in the car, Mr. Bass's phone rang. It was the examination office from our town. After he answered, he looked at me with a very serious expression. "Jessica, I suspected there was more to your case from the start. But now, your town's examination office called and said that after inspecting all the exam papers, they found one that had clear signs of being opened and your fingerprints were on it. That confirms it. You did steal the exam papers." I wasn't shaken by the news and said, "I knew this day would come. Let me tell you the truth, that fingerprint? I left it there on purpose." My words made Mr. Bass frown even deeper, but no matter what he said after that, I refused to speak again. Everything would be revealed at the provincial office. After a long drive, we finally arrived at the city I had long dreamed of. I had grown up in a remote mountain town, with nothing in my mind but studying. I thought I could change my fate through the college entrance exam. After graduating, I'd get a job in a big city and bring my parents to enjoy a better life. Never did I expect that my first trip to the provincial capital would be because of cheating. Mr. Bass asked, "We're here. Are you ready to tell us the truth now?" I asked one last question, "Is there anyone here with the surname Barker?" Everyone looked at each other and finally gave me a firm answer, "No." But I still refused to speak. Instead, I made a new request. "I want to hold a press conference." Mr. Bass had brought the exam paper from our town, the one with my fingerprints. He stared at me for a long time after handing it to me, then unexpectedly agreed, "Fine. Let her hold the press conference. I want to see what she's really going to say." Everyone was shocked. "Mr. Bass, are you crazy? This is just her trying to buy time. Why listen to her?" "Exactly. She's a suspect in a national security breach. If she says anything inappropriate in front of the media, the consequences could be disastrous." Voices of opposition came from all directions. But I said nothing, just silently looked at Mr. Bass. He looked back. In that moment, so much passed between us through our eyes. At last, he made the final call, "Do it. Give her the press conference." Once the others had left, Mr. Bass fixed his gaze on me and said, "Jessica, I don't know why, but something in my gut tells me, you're innocent. So I'm betting my entire career on you. Don't let me down." And for the first time, I told the truth, I really am innocent. I didn't steal the papers. I won't let you down. The next day, the press conference was held as scheduled. Facing dozens of reporters, I spoke the truth. Yes, I did see the college entrance exam questions. But I didn't steal the test. As for why I pulled out a cheat sheet for the next subject during the exam, it was for this very moment. Amid the stunned expressions around me, I slowly began to reveal everything. It all started 1 week before the exam. At that time, I had already secured my spot for early admission to Caledonian University and Glasgow University. But I didn't tell anyone, I didn't want to cause trouble. Chapter 8. I carried on going to and from school and doing practice papers like usual. One night, I was so tired from studying that I fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was already dark and all the lights in the school were out. Suddenly, I heard rustling noises at the door. I quickly hid behind a pile of classroom junk and held my breath. Then, I saw Emmett quietly open the door and sneak in. Behind him, another man followed. Emmett called him cousin and asked, "Did you get the papers?" His cousin said, "Yeah. My buddy was the one driving the exam paper transport van. We used a little trick to swipe the papers. The truck's still stalled on the road. You guys better memorize the answers fast. Once you're done, I need to sneak the papers back without anyone knowing." In the darkness, my eyes widened in shock. They actually had the guts to steal the college entrance exam questions. Just when I thought it was just Emmett and his cousin's cheating scheme, Emmett suddenly opened the classroom door again and called out, "Come in, everyone." One by one, silhouettes entered. To my horror, I realized nearly the whole class had shown up. Emmett held up the exam papers and said, "Here are the questions. Split into groups of 5. Each group memorizes different sections. Hurry, hurry." Under his command, the classmates rushed to get moving. But soon, they ran into a problem. They said, "These questions are way too hard. Even if I memorize them, I won't be able to solve them." Another student chimed in, "Yeah, we're all just average students, that's why we were betting on stealing the test to boost our scores. But if we can't answer or aren't sure we're right, it's all pointless." At that moment, someone sighed and said, "Man, if only Jessica were part of this plan. She's so smart, she'd definitely know all the answers." Another student said, "Yeah, Emmett, you and Jessica are close. Why didn't you get her in on this?" Emmett frowned, "Use your pig brain for once. Jessica's so good she can get into Glasgow University or Glasgow Caledonian on her own. Why would she risk cheating? Besides, I picked you all because your families have connections. We're stronger in numbers. But she's just a poor farmer's daughter, what help would she be?" he said again. While everyone sighed, someone suddenly spotted my eye peeking out from the pile of junk. That person yelled, "Who's there?" I instinctively tried to run, but of course, they caught me. One of them shouted, "Jessica? It's you. How long were you hiding? What did you hear? Idiot, she's been here a while." She heard everything. Some of them got so worked up they grabbed a shovel from the back of the classroom and tried to hit me. A girl cried out, "She knows our plan. We need to take care of her." "Wait, I have a better idea." Emmett looked at me and ordered, "Come here. Solve all these exam questions." Threatened by the shovel, I unwillingly sat down at the desk. Meanwhile, my classmates debated what to do with me. One of them said, "If you ask me, we should just kill her after she finishes. Her family's got no connections, her dad's sick, her mom's just an ordinary village woman. If she dies, no one will care. At least we were classmates once. Besides, killing someone means paying with your own life." Another voice chimed in. A boy also said, "Not if there's a crowd. We all stole the papers so we could cover for each other, using every family's influence to suppress the truth. That same strategy could work on Jessica too." Chapter 9. Their discussions made me shiver. I had never imagined that the classmates I had spent 3 years with could be such a group of wolves and tigers. Soon, I finished the questions and quietly tugged at Emmett's sleeve. I looked at him with pleading eyes, hoping he would save me. Emmett coldly yanked his sleeve away, then looked at everyone and said, "Jessica can't die because our plan still needs a scapegoat." Everyone had worn gloves when touching the exam papers earlier. Emmett suddenly grabbed my hand and forced me to press it firmly on the paper and left my fingerprints on it. He said to the others, "Now, the one who stole the papers is Jessica. If nothing happens, everything will be fine. Those who want to go to Glasgow University or Glasgow Caledonian will get in and those who want to go to a top-tier university will get in. But if things get exposed, all the blame will fall on Jessica. We'll say she was so desperate to get into Glasgow University, she even resorted to stealing the exam papers," he explained. I stared in disbelief, unable to believe such words came from my childhood friend's mouth. Emmett shoved my head away. "Stop looking at me like that. They were going to kill you and I'm the one who saved you." It was June, yet I felt an ice-cold chill through my bones. The others chattered about it and in the end, they all agreed to the plan. I watched helplessly as Emmett's cousin took the exam papers with my fingerprints and ran off. My classmates surrounded me in a circle. They warned me with each word not to try anything funny, not to struggle. Although we all went to school in the same town, they got there through connections, only I had gotten there with my grades. With the powerful connections behind dozens of people, were enough to make them powerful in the local area. If I tried to fight back, they'd destroy me like an ant. Even my parents would be affected. So, I spent that night in a daze. Meanwhile, my classmates were busy memorizing the answers I had written. I asked Emmett, unable to bear it any longer, "Aren't we the best of friends? Why are you doing this to me?" Emmett sneered and replied, "Who would want to be friends with a poor, ruined person like you? If it weren't for your good grades and letting me copy your homework all these years, I wouldn't even waste a word on you. People like you, the lower class, are only useful as scapegoats. You should be praying our cheating plan doesn't get exposed. If something goes wrong, it'll only be you who's screwed." His words completely shattered my mental defenses. Until the day before the exam, I remained anxious, restless and panicked. The teachers thought it was just stress, but I knew it was a deep, internal despair. Humans were inherently greedy and although my classmates claimed they would deliberately get some questions wrong to avoid a perfect score, I doubted they would stop there. To win against others in the competition, they would probably get all the answers right. If a dozen students from one school scored over 700, the whole thing would be exposed. So, I had to find a way to save myself. But with no power, no influence and my fingerprints on the unopened exam papers, how could I possibly save myself? Finally, I came up with an idea. Make the matter as big as possible, the bigger, the better. Their influence only extended to the local area, but I could go to the provincial capital and if that didn't work, I'd go to the capital. And I'd need a press conference, one that would make my voice heard across the province. That way, no one would be able to stop me from speaking out. Chapter 10. Fortunately, I met the fair Mr. Bass, the leader of the exam team, who was smart enough to let my plan proceed smoothly. As expected, after the press conference, the explosive news caused a nationwide sensation. A provincial inspection team immediately went to our town to investigate and the findings largely matched what I had said. The real criminals weren't me, but Emmett and his group of classmates. I heard that before they were arrested, they were still shouting, "My family has connections. I have people on top." But unfortunately, the impact of this incident was far beyond what their family connections could control. At the same time, due to the exam leak, the government used backup exam papers that year, affecting the fate of countless students. Ms. Travis from the Glasgow and Caledonian University admissions office contacted me immediately and decided to restore my qualification for direct admission. A heavy weight finally lifted from my heart. The next day, Mr. Bass personally sent me back to the town. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw my teary-eyed homeroom teacher and the principal. The homeroom teacher rushed over, hugged me tightly and choked out, "I knew you weren't that kind of person." Meanwhile, the principal stood awkwardly beside us and quietly said, "Jessica, after watching the news yesterday, the school immediately transferred the money to your father. His surgery was very successful, so don't worry." I bowed gratefully to the principal. "Thank you, principal." The principal patted my shoulder. "You're stronger and smarter than anyone thought. We never expected that your classmates would be so bold." Good news kept coming. When I went to the hospital to visit my father, he had already woken up. After learning the whole story, he and my mother hugged me and said, "Jessica, it's our fault for being so useless, making you suffer such a great injustice." I shook my head. A person's background cannot be changed, but destiny is always in one's own hands. In September, when appeared at the Glasgow University and Caledonian University campuses with other students, the nationwide sensation caused by the stolen exam papers case from my hometown came to an end. Everyone involved in the case received their due punishment, especially the main culprit, Emmett, and his cousin, who were sentenced to 10 years in prison. I looked up and saw the big yellow welcoming banners on campus, and the last heavy weight in my heart finally lifted. From that moment on, my future was bright. The end, and that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.